But let's talk about some of the regulatory challenges that perhaps could be on the anvil. We've once again seen the parliamentary panel recommend the possibility of looking at intervening in the market as far as prices are concerned. We've now got the government setting up a special cell where customers can actually talk about their complaints as far as pricing is concerned. Would you worry about the possibility of government intervention on pricing at this point in time?
Well, when there's a body where customers can complain about certain things, I think that's a good thing. There's always good for companies to have a body which keeps sort of things in balance and things. So I think in general to have a body like that is a good thing. Having said that, looking at the Indian market, it's one of the most, if not the most competitive market in the world. The average price levels are extremely competitive. There has been some recent reports which made a comparison. How did inflation go over the years and how did airfares go? And actually you could see that the inflation has gone much faster than the airfare. So we need to catch up in that in efficiency and sort of in order to keep the margins. Because in the long run, there must be a correlation between the cost of doing business and the price of airfares, right? Otherwise you'll be out of business. I think this is some part of the history of aviation in India. Last and very importantly, if we want to build global aviation giants in India, we should also look at what's the global dimension and global dynamics we're playing in and what type of airlines and size of airlines we need for that. So a good thing that the body is there. We fully support and we're fully transparent on that. When it comes to average prices, it is one of the most competitive markets in the world. Yes, there's peaks, but so is that in hotels. And let's look at it more from a global level rather than at the specific domestic route.
But has there been any conversation with the government on this issue?
You know, there's permanent conversations. If there's questions, there's conversations, right? And I don't.
I would imagine that you got a lot of calls during the Maha Kumbh.
No, as an airline, we should never shy away from those conversations. And when there are certain prices which, you know, if there's one ticket which has, I don't know, 40,000 rupees on the route, that are occasions, you know, sometimes these systems push up the prices. I think the real discussion for the Maha Kumbh is when it became clear that there was so much demand, we pretty much doubled the number of flights we had. If you've been to Prayagraj airport, it's not a very large airport. So I think the collaboration between the airport, the air traffic control, the authorities, ourselves, to put in all these additional flights, that worked out very, very well. And then, yes, there's a lot of chatter about, you know, there was someone booking a flight in the south of India, connecting over Delhi and Hyderabad. And but let's park that for a minute. Let's look what we have collectively achieved in making sure that all these people could travel there. I was one of them.
You were? How many people did you fly to the Maha Kumbh?
You know, I think we operated close to 1,000 flights. There's 230 seats per flight. So that pretty much back and forth. So that's what, 5 lakh in and out together. Yeah. A very rough estimate.
But staying with possible regulatory challenges, I mean, there was a pushback from industry on the change as far as flying norms are concerned for pilots and the crew. Now the norms are expected to kick in July, the new FDTL norms. What will that mean? I mean, I don't know whether they will or won't. As of now, they're slated to come out in July. What will that mean in terms of operations and your turnaround times?
No. Safety for us is of paramount importance, and clearly it's important to continuously review all these rules which are related to that. What we also find important, let's take some of the best practices of other parts of the world as well, include these best practices in the discussion. Some other countries or continents have gone through a long phase of growth and development. India's aviation is actually taking off now, so I think it's a great opportunity really to incorporate some of these learnings. So the fact that the entire discussion on FDTL is starting and should be a very mature discussion, because there's no dispute on the importance of safety. Everyone fully subscribed to that. As it stands now, that 1st of July is there, and we're in the process of evaluating and detailing what exactly does it mean at what point in time.
Will you need to hire more? You know, July is not very far away. If those norms kick in, will you need to hire more?
July is not very far away, but still, again, we're reviewing what's going to be the precise impact, what possible ways of network alignment. And, you know, it has a lot of elements linked to night flying. What does it exactly mean? Should the network be changed? Should we stop some of the flights in the night? Could also be a consequence. So I think even there it's a holistic picture. And I think India and India at large has benefited a lot from the development of aviation. I think it's important that we sort of keep that momentum and, of course, against the backdrop of safety first.
User development fee being hiked across majority of the major airports, whether it's Mumbai or Delhi. Do you believe that's likely to impact, travel demand? How do you see that affecting the sector?
Well, that's a fine balance. I think a lot of the investments which are taking place in airports today are great investments, and probably we're really up to those investments. And I think with that, some of the airports in India are now world-class airport facilities. And again, we need that. The country needs to have world-class airport facilities. If we want to be a global aviation hub, hubs are created by airlines, but can only be created in close collaboration and working together with airports. So that's what we need. Having said that, looking at the price sensitivity, a few hundred of rupees sometimes is enough to have people flying or not flying. So we should be mindful of looking how these user fees will eventually find their way into ticket prices. Because at the end of the day, there's a correlation between what is the price and the cost price of a product and what is the price for the consumer eventually. So full support for all the changes. I think it's important that it's being done. But we should be mindful that, at the end of the day, the price of the ticket is based on different elements. And this aspect is an important part of that. And that should be in line with it.
Is it in line with what you believe is the kind of threshold, or do you believe it's tipped over?
I think at some points it runs the risk of tipping over. If you take the price of a ticket, the price of some of the UDFs should, in terms of percentage and correlation, should be not too much as the total price of the ticket, right? There's going to be fuel and flying and this and that and the other. So I think, again, full support for all the changes we're making, but we should be mindful of what would it do eventually for the total ticket prices.
You've also got new airports coming up. You've got the new airport coming up in Mumbai. Of course, you've had to move airports here in Delhi. There's Jewar expected, and that's on the anvil as well. In terms of the new airport infrastructure coming in, what does that mean as far as perhaps opportunities, but also adding to the complexity as far as an airline is concerned?
Well, I see it as a big opportunity, and all the large cities in the world, the mega cities in the world, are having 2, 3, or even sometimes more airports. London, Paris, New York, Shanghai, Tokyo, they all have multiple airport systems. India didn't have that system so far. Therefore, 25 is a big year for Indian aviation. So we welcome very much the opening here in Noida. We welcome the opening in Navi Mumbai. Indigo has committed very much to both new airports. We had the honor to do the sort of first test flights on both airports. They went very well. We will start building without decreasing on the existing airports. So I believe there's room for us to operate from both and not to decrease at the existing airports.
You pick up on this on social media. You pick up on this from customers who sometimes even reach out to us and so on and so forth. You are today the world's most valuable airline. But are you India's most loved airline is the question. And do you aspire to be India's most loved airline?
I would say, yes, we are. If I see what we do for the communities in terms of providing air connectivity, in terms of providing services, half of our routes are routes where others are not operating. So we're actually creating that opportunity. When I traveled to, not so long ago, I was in Durgapur and Deoghar. If you see what we are doing there in terms of creating that connectivity, so that's that much appreciated, recognized. So that is, if you want to call it, the hardware of the equation.
But what about the software?
When we look to the software, exactly, I was coming to that. When we look to the software and see what our staff is doing in often very difficult circumstances. If there's a floods at the Chennai airport last year, our people stand there and they deal with all the challenges which are there. It's outside anyone's control what's happening, and yet they deal with it. If I see the work we're doing, we now moved from the Delhi Terminal 2, temporarily closed, everything had to go to Terminal 1. That's a massive operation, and yet they do it. So be it on the ground, be it in the air, You know,
But the user experience, I mean, I'm sure you see the feedback as we do as well, whether it's the quality of seats, whether it's the fact that there's virtually no cushioning on some seats, whether it's food. I mean, how do you respond then to that feedback? Are you using that feedback to try and do something about the user experience?
It would be arrogant not to use it. So yes, we do. Yes, we do that. Looking at, and we monitor our net promoter score, and we monitor social media. So we do that, and we take that serious. You know, if we have 3.5 lakh customers a day, there's going to be complaints of those customers. And when seats are not correct, or when planes are, then of course we're addressing that. And even when staff behavior is not correct, we're addressing that. But by and large, and I think India has a system whereby customer complaints are all registered at the DGCA. It's all monitored very, very well. Our statistics look very, very, very strong there. Yes, there are still cases where people send, and all these complaints are being followed up. And if you put it even on a more international scale, our service stands out. So I think we have the hardware in place, we have the software in place, and with that together, the India's preferred airline is a subtitle we are proudly adding to the name Indigo.
Okay, well, Pieter, I'm going to end by asking you to give me a sort of broad picture of what you're most excited about for 2025. We'll come back to the numbers when you can talk about them, but leave us with a broad picture of what you're most excited about for 2025.
2025 is exciting for the Indian aviation industry because we'll be hosting IATA, and finally we'll have a second airport in Delhi and Mumbai. That is for the industry. For Indigo specifically, we accelerate our internationalization. So we grow to more destinations. We got the wide bodies coming in. We got the XLR coming in. And that will basically be a very important step in the building of our global footprint. And from a customer perspective, we'll have the stretch domestic. We have a loyalty program, and we have a lot of new services on offer.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Pieter. Many, many thanks for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you after your earnings are out.
After the earnings, we do that. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Appreciate your time. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this CNBC TV18 special from me and the team on the show. Thanks very much for watching.